What's up, everybody?
Go.
Yeah, it's your boy JC joining me as always on this wonderful week 2 recap. Patrick Pucci Fantasy Show is the Commissioner Rhino and the SoCal Wolfie Ball Nerd. How are you, gentlemen? How was your week 2 so far?
Oh, Mama said it'd be days like this. They would be days like this.
Oh well, I mean,
It
like
was,
if yeah.
definitely, real angry and agony of getting your ass whooped.
I get it. I get it. Yeah, that was rather unfortunate of a performance, but we'll get into a little bit.
Yep.
We'll get into a little bit on why that was maybe unfortunate in a different manner. SoCal Bull Nerd. If you hear me calling him Wolfie, don't get alarmed. There aren't any wolves around except for that man right there. How was your day, my friend?
My day is overall it's good, man. Like I said, we had the Wolfie Jr. little bowling tournament, watching that, getting the red zone action on the phone all day, watching as much football as I could. Chargers are 2-0. That's always a nice feeling. Fantasy is when you have so many teams, it's like gambling, you're happy if like you're above 50% because it's like you just can't get everything right. So some guys bounced back today, other guys didn't, or other guys underperformed. So but overall, man, it's a full day of football and still a game tonight. So I'm lovely.
I know that you guys have heard this story before. I'll tell it again in like a shorter, condensed version. I didn't really play more than 2 leagues of fantasy for the first time since last season. Last season was my first time playing in more than 2 years. More than 2 leagues, I'm sorry. And, it was just, it was wonderful on one hand. Wonderful because you had so many different types of leagues. You had so many different types of rosters and so many different types of a wide portfolio of players. But as very quickly after week 1, you realize not only do you want that player that you have on any one of your teams to do well, there's like a 90% chance that you're playing that very same player against him in another league.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of it. It's just the way it goes. Now this year, fast forward, I already had this in my head, or didn't care. Just I'm already on top of it. Just to sit back, relax, let the let the chips and the cards all fall on the table, and we'll see how it plays out at the end of the season. If like 50% of your teams have Zamir White, but the other 50% don't, there's a good chance that, at least that 50% rosters, those 50% of the teams will do well. Hopefully, the teams with Zamir will do well as well. We're going to get to the Raiders game. We're going to get to all the main games, fellas. But I did want to get into some of the injuries. We're not going to go into anything in depth in terms of what we expect out of the injury itself, any timetables, no analysis, none of that. We leave that to the experts, whether these guys are going to play or not. That again, we have to let that unfold as A, we get more information on the injury, B, then when the new week comes out and they start to practice in preparation for week 3, we'll know how the players are trending. But again, reading off of my phone for this previous, this full slate that we just finished watching, leading it off, no particular order, guys. As Cooper Kupp was seen walking out of the stadium in a boot. I think that's his ankle from all reports.
I'm hoping it's his ankle, kind of. I'm hoping it's not his Achilles because he was grabbing down around that area when he was on the bench.
And again, I don't know. I didn't even I didn't see the play. I'm sure you saw him grabbing like that. I think we all know like what the Achilles looks like. We saw it firsthand with Aaron Rodgers last season. We saw it with J.K. Dobbins last season. We know they pretty much zoom in on what that motion looks like and like the actual like rope that takes place, like that slinging of the muscle, that whole thing. So I don't know. Again, I don't want to put that analysis on it. I don't really want to attach my name to it. However, let's hope it's just the ankle. We'll leave it at that. Amon-Ra St. Brown, possible lower body injury. All right. Justin Jefferson, now, according to this, he's downplaying his injury. I saw him walk off into the tunnel.
His was a contusion, so a deep bone bruise, right, on his thigh.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's sore. He's downplaying it. Bruised right quadricep. All right. I mean, look, we're gonna get into Jettison in a second or two. Justin Herbert's undergoing some X-rays. Wolfie, you might have some more information on that. I do not. Other than that,
got rolled up.
Yeah. And he's already dealing with a lower foot injury. He's going to be dealing with that lower foot injury the entire season, from my understanding, based again off of expert analysis on what a Lisfranc is. I've never had one, so I couldn't really tell you. I could tell you about other injuries, only from experience. However, don't know if that's his same foot or if if it's a different foot. It didn't look like it really mattered now, did it? Also, already ruled out, folks. AJ Brown.
Yeah.
Sir, you know who. You know who. You know who. You know whose time it is tomorrow night.
Yeah, Johan Dotson.
It will not be Johan Dotson. Maybe little Johan couldn't hurt anybody. It really couldn't. Hurts isn't going to be able to throw the ball 20 times to Devotna like Stafford did to Cooper Kupp. It's not that the offense doesn't run like that. However, last season, I believe week 17 or week 18, I want to say it was week 18. AJ Brown missed the game. Devontae Smith had freaking 150 yards and a touchdown off of 10, 12 catches. It was a look. No AJ Brown, we know what the man's capable of. With an AJ Brown on the field, we know what the man's capable of. In any event, though, that game is tomorrow night. Why don't we get into some of, unless I'm missing an injury? Am I missing something, fellas?
No, not that.
I mean, just a reminder, Evan Ingram didn't even make it to the game, right? I mean, hamstring injury, was not injured before the game started. Hamstring injury and doesn't play. And then at the end of this game, it's hard. Is there anything wrong with Pacheco? He got his leg bent backwards, and they only had to run. They were settling for a game-winning field goal. So, I mean, obviously Pacheco would have been out there over Carson Steele, but the game was over. So definitely want to see if there's issue with Pacheco.
Just saw him hobbling off. Good call.
And how bad is that Ingram hamstring? Hamstrings are never good. I mean, and to hurt it in warm-ups and not play, that's not a good sign. But
now correct me if I'm wrong. Again, it's a couple of years removed at this point, because he was injury-free last year, 2023, and I'm pretty sure he was injury-free 2022. But when he started out with the Giants, he was in and out of like injury reports, and he missed X amount of games here, X amount of games there. I would have to check that, but I'm pretty sure his career started off this way, and then he's had some relatively good, healthy success. But yeah, you warmed up. And I shouldn't laugh. I really shouldn't. You know, I mean, who the hell am I to laugh? I'm just the one that's being entertained by these guys. Nevertheless, did not make it to the game. Late scratch. Nicholas, who has the Lisfranc? Justin Herbert's got the Lisfranc, doesn't he? He had the Lisfranc prior to week 1.
He's got the plantar fascia, not plantar fasciitis fully, but plantar fascia. So is
that the same? Is it the same thing or no?
It's a little bit different, I believe, and it's not as the fasciitis as well as what is the big foot injury. Like, so he had a very I guess without a medical opinion of it, maybe Ryan knows a little bit more. Like he had a minor version of some of those foot injuries, right? Or he wouldn't.
Plantar fasciitis is like the heel, the underneath part of the foot.
Yeah. So
and he didn't even have the full version of that. So he looks like he's okay though.
This is why I put that disclaimer out beforehand, right? If you want anything more in depth, do not listen to me in regards to the injury analysis or the actual anatomy of the body.
Those are just the names to watch, to put on your watch list. That's it.
That's exactly what it is. And here's a name that we had on the watch list based on week 1's performance, and these are the Patrick Pucci plays of the week. Top headline for the quarterback. The Baker's dozen. The Baker. So look, he had a 4-touchdown performance and he played out of his mind last week. Now he's traveling to the Motor City. What does this man do? Okay, kind of came back down to earth a little bit, right?
A little,
but this was a good performance on the road. He hit Chris Godwin for a really nice, about 49-yard touchdown, I believe, on the left-hand side. He only had 12 completions. All right, but this was an efficient ball game. Well, one pick, maybe not that efficient. However, the game was saved, at least in terms of fantasy, because he also added a touchdown on
an 11-yard rushing touchdown.
On a total of 34 yards and a rushing touchdown. So between the 12 completions for 185 and one score, you add in 35 on the ground for a score. You add that up and you get yourself a good performance for the quarterback today. So Baker and the Bucks went into Detroit and they pulled off somewhat of an upset, and this was the rematch of This was a rematch of last year's NFC semi-conference championship, but where we know the Lions won. Yeah, the Lions did not look good. We'll get back to this game, though. We will get back to this game because this man is quarterback proof. I've been saying that he's been quarterback proof since we saw him with Mullins last season. So now it's Sam Darnold. And like a lot of people Sam's going to have good games. Then the other games, he's going to see the ghosts. The ghosts are going to come out. Here's the reality of the situation. Is from my seat, from how I see Justin Jefferson, who, again, went off for 4 catches. He had 133 yards and a touchdown. It got banged up in the game, but nevertheless, he had it was a 97-yard touchdown, the longest play, I believe, of his career. This is the way I see this man. He doesn't necessarily have to be schemed up. He can do it himself. Here's a set of plays for you, Darnold, and it's like, okay, just know this, Sam. Justin Jefferson is going to be he's got 4 of his own options. This is the way I see it. I could be completely wrong. Justin is either going to be here, there, or there. Now, whatever you feel more comfortable with, or here's option A, here's the B, here's the C. That's the way I see it. He doesn't necessarily have to be schemed up in the sense of like an actual designed play to get Justin Jefferson open. Justin Jefferson is going to get himself open, and that's what makes him quarterback proof. He's helping the quarterback more than the quarterback is necessarily helping the wide receiver.
But the quarterback has to get the ball to the wide receiver before the wide receiver make a catch too.
For sure.
It wasn't like,
for sure.
Like but was it 97-yard touchdown pass? That was a good throw by Darnold.
I bet it was. But at the same, I guess I may not be explaining it or portraying it the way I would want to. I kind of feel like when most quarterbacks need to like get it, boom, zeroed in. They have to get that football into the bucket, that narrow target. Justin Jefferson almost gives a Mullins, or he would have gotten a McCarthy, or he's giving Darnold a much wider target, a much wider moving target too. That's the way I see it. That's what makes him very special individual. I hope that this continues up, and we all hope that he's not injured too much. And by the way, I'm not a Vikings fan. I don't like the Vikings. I like this wide receiver. I do. And let's move on to, oh my God, this guy. 4 touchdowns.
And he's 28, right? A lot of people are talking about his age and how he's going to slow down. Oh, he's not slowing down. This system is fitting perfectly for how he plays.
I mean, perhaps many of us weren't taking that into account enough. That's really the only thing I could see. The system that's kind of, or is, an offshoot of this Shanahan offense, and this guy Kubiak, whose father was a very successful coach in the league
and played for Mike Shanahan.
I don't know why we should be that surprised. Maybe that's why Dennis Allen was like keeping Kendry Miller in like the training room. Like you know what? Stay here. We don't need you. You're no use to us, because he knew what was going to happen. Maybe not. That could be part cynical to say. However, for the last 2 weeks, Alvin Kamara has been on an absolute tear. Absolute tear. I mean, like what? This guy had 20 carries, 115 yards, 3 touchdowns. And he added another 65 in the air and a score.
Yeah.
Alvin, 28. Yeah, so much for the dead. Here's your dead zone RB, by the way.
Yeah, you're happy if you took him in that dead zone. I mean,
here's your dead zone RB.
There's a few of them that are producing pretty good in dead zone.
Yeah, then there's more of them that are not also, which is maybe why they call it the dead zone. Yeah. Nevertheless, it was likely going to be Andrews. Now, he didn't have a great game, Mark Andrews, no, but he did lead them in targets again. He did wind up getting, the 51 yards on 4 catches. Isaiah turned back into a pumpkin on 2 catches, 3 targets, 2 catches, and 26 yards. Folks, I hope you didn't spend a lot of fat money on it. I just hope that. But at the same time, again, we shouldn't overreact to this as well. This could very well be the situation that we've spoken about the last several shows. Isaiah likely will be used out, split out, slot wide receiver, or in line, in the inline. So, other than what we saw just now, I would be willing to bet that Mark Andrews will continue to lead the 2 in targets, lead the 2 in yards. It's just a matter of time before he has one of these spike weeks. And Isaiah likely will be used in just a much more specialized role. It's another weapon. It's another wide receiver. But for a tight end to use him in your tight end position, Wolfie, that you can't start him that way right now.
Well, it's like we talked about last week a little bit. I mean, it was a great performance, but you still play behind Mark Andrews. I mean, one of the top tight ends. You weren't going to take his position. It's not like Andrews was hurt, and now we're like, oh, look at likely like it was last year, right? So the likely outcome was he'd still be second fiddle to Mark Andrews, right? And I think, there you go, James. Like, I thought even if it was likely to produce, I thought it would be Flowers who might be the one to lose, because likely might be in that slot role. He might kind of take away. But Flowers, and he had 11 targets. Andrews and likely had 8 targets combined. Like Flowers is the go-to guy. And again, Lamar can't pass. So at the end of the day, sometimes it's great, but Lamar's passing is not very good. 21 for 34. A lot of just throws to Zay. I mean, I don't know. This offense has some question marks in Baltimore, man. I mean, I know Henry got some yards and got the touchdown, but we can get more into that. But there's more there to peel back too. I mean, how much can you trust Lamar to throw the ball and deliver much volume to more than one of these guys on any given day? It was likely last week. It was Flowers this week.
Yeah. I mean, just to put it into reference, Lamar 21 for 34. His counterpart on the other side was 30 for 38. I'm impressed with you with this Raiders team. Rhino, I told you about that. Well, it's not like I didn't tell you. I said it wouldn't shock me if the Raiders were going to go on the road and just toughen up a little bit. Like give them a hard time. I didn't think they were going to win. I thought they would go 0-2. Yeah, but that was an impressive.
Yeah, I'm still not sold on Minshew though. He looked good. Brock Bowers looked really good. But I'm still not sold on Minshew.
Baltimore defense maybe isn't as good as we're used to, right? Yeah. Kansas City passed the ball last week. I mean, they had 13 points. Las Vegas did in the first half, and then Minshew just started to let it rip. I mean, and Adams and Bowers were they were unstoppable in the fourth quarter. I mean, they had a 10-point lead, 13 points total, and they give up 13 unanswered in the fourth at home to lose. It's crazy how that unfolded. But Minshew just started letting it rip. They couldn't run the football. And Madison, 4 carries for a yard. White, 9 for 24. I mean, they did nothing on the ground.
No.
And Baltimore still had no answer. And I don't know. It was just weird because they were containing it. Maybe Las Vegas realized we can just rear back and let Minshew pick him apart. And I don't really trust him long term either. But my takeaway is maybe this Baltimore defense is not as good as we are used to.
And the interception by Spillane, that was the game changer too. That was what the Raiders needed.
It's the Raiders defense. Yeah,
the Raiders defense. It's weird because the Raiders defense is outplaying the Raiders offense, which is that's just nothing you really hear from a Raiders fan. We hear the defense is outplaying the offense.
Well, it's not surprising me. All right. It's really not. Antonio Pierce was brought in to just make sure that if they were going to be really strong, they were going to give their offense a chance by playing strong defense.
And they're disciplined. I think they had 3 penalties, 3 or 4 penalties,
and they're going to be disciplined.
Yeah,
that's for sure. He comes
and they contained Henry. It's weird though, right? Because they shut down the Chargers rushing game in the first half, but then they just got beaten in the second half. I believe Henry had 7 carries for 5 yards to start the game, and he finished with 18 for 84.
I think 95 yards.
What?
Do you have 90? I thought you had 95 yards.
He had 84 yards on the ground, but he had 7 carries for 5 yards in the first half. And then he had a couple big runs. I mean, and 18 for 84 and a touchdown. You like to see that. So, but overall, their defense, I mean, they kept him in the game and gave him a chance to win that game. So, and they did.
Kudos to them also. Kudos. Who do they have next? Do we know?
Who?
The Raiders.
I think they have Carolina.
They do play Carolina. So on that note, fire up Zamir, baby. This is the week.
This would be the week, right?
He still was on the field for more snaps, but neither one of these games has really been. I think since we're on the topic of the Raiders, Zamir looks to be, which is not what we all wanted, but he looks to be a guy that's going to have good games in the favorable matchups. When the Raiders can be neutral or playing from ahead, which probably won't be a ton of games. Carolina would be one of those. But other than that, he doesn't look to be the bell cow that a lot of us hoped he would be,
And plus,
No.
their inside offensive linemen they're just not good right now. Not good.
So
If you have good inside blocking, that's going to be hard for a running back to get the yards and stuff.
So Zamir has the Panthers next week. That should be a good spot for him. If not, you got to worry. Then he's got Cleveland. Okay, maybe not. Then he's got Denver. So 2 of the next 3 weeks. Then he's got the Steelers. That's not good. The Rams, the Chiefs, then the Bengals. So there's going to be about half the games, I think, where if this defense is as good as it looks, he's got a chance to be productive as maybe an RB2 flex type player. But that's not. I don't know if you can see anything more than that right now. You're happy if we get that from him in those games from what we've seen.
All right. So we have at least one more week playing Carolina week 3 where we can at least give them another opportunity in our starting lineups.
And against the Rams, when they play the Rams,
this should be the get right game where we could parlay that into playing him again week 4, and that would be our 4-week sampling of 2 duds, 2 okay games where we're hoping that this is the case, and we could proceed from there. Why don't we get back to let's get back to the Saints and Jerry's Cowboys, because I mean, again, nobody was expecting the Cowboys to just like go through this season 17-0, Dak win MVP. Then of course they get into the playoffs and they reach the conference finals and they lose. I don't think anybody was expecting that, but this is their home opener, correct?
Yeah.
And the Saints went in there. Forget the fact that they went from a dome to a dome, but the Saints are supposed to be the inferior team here.
Yeah.
And it just did not look like that at all. Derek Carr had another 2 touchdowns off of look at this game. 11 for 16 for 243 and 2 touchdowns. One of those I know went to Rashid Shaheed again. And then the rest of it was all Alvin Kamara. I mean, Chris Olave had Olave
had 81 yards, 4 catches, something like that, 4 or 5 catches for 81 yards.
Better, but still, it looks like Carr has. I feel like he's comfortable, or he's gotten comfortable with Shaheed. Or here's where it comes to like that scheming I was talking about. It's like, okay, here's the play. Here's what's going to happen. There's no deviation from it. You hit Shaheed here. If you miss, you miss. Shaheed ain't going to go get that ball for you. But it looks like they're on the same page, though. And he's got the speed for it as well. But let's get back. Let's you know what? Let's get to the Cowboys, though.
So with the Cowboys, I think one thing that we are talking about before the season started is how bad their freaking running game is going to be, and the running game's horrible, and that's going to be a downfall for them. If you can't run the ball, you're not going to be able to control the clock.
Oh, well, I'm glad you said that. Run the ball, because this was the shot when they passed up on their second round pick, when they traded down and they saw Carolina take Jonathan Brooks. Now, granted, yes, fine. We know that the dude's on IR. We get it. But they didn't draft a running back at all. They like scoffed at it. They like, nope, we don't need to. We're gonna bring back Zeke. We've got Rico Dowdle. Let me tell you something. Zeke looks old. He looks old.
Yeah.
I had to wait. I saw him on the field. It was kind of like he had an open field. I saw him in an open field. He got tackled, but then I had to wait for the announcer. Maybe it was even Hansen on Red Zone say, "Is Elliott with I had to wait for that to make sure that was Elliott. It had to have been Elliott because nobody looks that slow. I'm sorry. He added 7 carries for 30 yards, and Zeke. That was Dowdle.
Yeah.
Zeke had 6 carries for 16.
I mean, they had 21 carries for 62 yards. And I mean, New Orleans has been a good defensive team over the years and has had a good run defense. And this Cowboys offensive line is not as good as it's been in previous years. So, I mean, you got the Browns run defense and then the Saints run defense coupled with, I guess, an unimpressive running back room, and a so-so offensive line. So that's going to spell some issues. And then we'll see, right? When they have a more favorable matchup, we'll see if they can run the ball at least effective. I don't think we're going to see them blow anybody away, but at least effective enough to open up more of the passing game, right? And you don't have, no Ferguson anymore right now. I mean, it's Cooks is your number 2. I think Tolbert was the second leading receiver.
Yeah, Tolbert had a good game today.
Yeah, but there's just, like I said, if you can't run the ball effectively at all to try to open up the passing game and you only really have CeeDee Lamb as your main weapon, it's going to be hard to really be successful. And then you give up 40-something points anyway. So,
How soon do you think we might see Dalvin Cook?
I don't think Dalvin Cook. I don't think it's any. It doesn't matter. He's old and slow too. He's not going to do anything behind this offensive line. I mean, if these guys can't do it, listen, Rico Dowdle has some athleticism and has some explosive ability, but A, there's no volume, and B, there's no running game as a whole. So I'm not saying that Dowdle's could be a star, but I think it's more a whole issue of this offensive line and this team that just – what are you going to do on 7 carries anyway? When you can't move the ball. What do you expect him to do on that? 21 carries for the team. I don't think it matters who's back there. They need to make a move to bring in somebody who can be good without the O-line. Or like I said, I think the line has a lot to do with it as well. You got to fix that first.
Yeah. I think it's a combination. I think it's a combination of their arrogance because Zeke is out of his prime. We know this. Rico Dowdle, while there is some athleticism, yes, maybe we should see more from Rico Dowdle with a good offensive line, and then maybe perhaps we'll be singing a different tune. We'll all be like, oh, okay, well now that he has that offensive line and that blocking, anybody should be able to run through good blocks, and Dallas is known for having a good offensive line anyway. Or they're in trouble. Well, they're in trouble.
This is not the same offensive line that it's been over the last.
All right. Well, then they're in trouble because then they won't be able to block for and protect Dak either. And this team is in for a rude awakening. As talented as they are on paper in terms of the quarterback, yes, the wide receiver, the stud wide receiver, yes. This game may have just been a tell in terms of exactly. We'll see though. CeeDee Lamb
They get the Ravens next week, so that probably won't be much better on the ground. The following week,
not at all.
The following week, and going back again to like we've talked about already today, and we'll talk about it with the next score you have up. The matchups matter so much, right? You saw Washington run the ball effective. Not last week against a good run defense, but they dominated. The Washington's offensive line didn't change. But back to what I'm saying, Dallas plays the Giants in week 4. You can't run the ball that game. We really got an issue.
Anyway, again, I think Jerry, his son, the entire organization, I know this was only week 2, but I don't think anybody expected the Saints to just waltz in there and kick their ass. I just don't. Now, yes, if you're a CeeDee Lamb owner, it was a great game. Fantastic. Yes, absolutely. We're glad to see that. Just like we're glad to see, we want to see our stars produce for us, especially the ones that we drafted so high. Let's just hope that let's just hope that type of production keeps up. And you know what? We won't really give a crap about the outcome of the scoring. Look, nobody. Yeah, some of us have some shares of Zeke. Some of us have some shares of Dowdle. I don't really think they're. You can't start those dudes, nor did you really draft them to be studs for you anyway. Let's move on to a stud in New York, who many of us did draft to be significant, not necessarily have to carry your wide receiver core, but Malik Neighbors did show. He did show. So did another wide receiver.
121 yards.
And Danny Dimes finally got him. Finally hooked up with him. 16 for 28, 178 yards and 2 touchdowns. Look, he didn't turn the ball over. It looked a little shitty at times. But yeah, he did find Malik in the end zone. That's again back to Dallas. That's really all what we care about. I think Devin Singletary had a decent game. Oh yeah, better than decent game.
Yeah, he had 16 for 95 and a touchdown. And again, I mean, I'm just going to drive it home, man. It's all matchups. It's all matchups, right? Minnesota last week for the Giants, a great run defense. I know Mason had a good game today, but still, Minnesota's run defense, one of their strengths. Giants couldn't do anything last week. You get a Washington team that we saw Tampa tear apart at will in the passing game, but their run defense is okay. But Singletary gets 95 yards today, and Neighbors plays great too. But they could have won this game. Neighbors dropped a first down that gave Washington the ball back. And I know in fantasy we don't care about that as much, but just for the significance of Danny Dimes leading them to a possible win. And same with Jones, right? No turnover. He's able to get 2 touchdowns against a subpar defense and be serviceable, right?
That's perfect word.
But how many games is that going to be the case, right? But I do think the big takeaway for me, and if you guys disagree, let me know, but Neighbors is going to get fed. And I think what we see here is no matter how bad the Giants are, Neighbors can have a good season. Especially for what the worry was.
What was Danny Dimes' numbers?
16 for 28 for $178 and 2 touchdowns.
And didn't Neighbors have 121 yards receiving? So
127.
Yeah, so
10 catches. It was a good game.
Like 90% of the yards came from Neighbors.
Yeah, it was a good game. Yeah, he must have accounted for, if I had to take a stab, 25, 30% target share. More maybe.
He had 18 of the 27 targets.
18 out of 20. So that's
66%. That's 2/3. But you can see that he's got it. I mean, there's no question about Malik Neighbors being a stud, right? So can they just keep feeding the ball? If he's going to get 18 targets, he's going to produce to be in your lineup. That's all we care about.
Malik Neighbors. I like it. I don't like the Giants, but I like it.
What do you guys think about Brian Robinson's day?
It was a good game.
133 yards.
It was a good game. Game. I wanted to just touch up on Wandalius. The Wandalius, he got into the end zone also. Only on 18 yards, 2 catches, 4 targets, but it's good to see that, he's still he's in the fold, right? We all know who this alpha is going to be. Wan'Dale Robinson is an excellent second option. There are really no other options, or will there be other options in this Giants receiving core at all? Really, I mean, there's no tight end usage whatsoever. Darius Slayton, I can't believe, is still playing. And Singletary this won't be high volume in terms of high team passing volume, but that volume, as we just alluded to in terms of the percentages, that target percentage is ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
I think you'll see in a little tougher matchups, Wan'Dale probably have more of that 7-8 type targets, but I think they just, against a bad team, they realized that they could just go to Neighbors every time they wanted to. So Danny just fed him. But against better defenses, I don't know if you can just feed 18 targets, because you got to move the ball around to change what the defense is doing. And so I think Wandale will be a little more involved like he was week 1. Will it be enough to be used in a normal 12-team type league? We'll see. What do you have? 12 points last week? I mean, maybe. But I think you'll see a little more even out. You know what I mean? Because you can't do that against better defenses.
If you're playing in leagues that you have to start to flex, all right, like many of our leagues, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
And there was a wide receiver that got that was ruled out. Wandale Robinson was a good play today. It worked out. Let me put it that way. It worked out. Yeah, Brian Robinson, Rhino, for sure. So far, looks great. Looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Today's 17 carries, 133 yards, and the score. The second leading rusher on the team. No surprise. No surprise whatsoever. It's the quarterback. Other than that, what happened? Scary was Terry. He was scary.
What do you have? Six he had a catches with no yards, right? Six catches for 22 yards.
You know what I should say? I should have said he's not scary. Don P knows this from last season. It's just like etched in my brain. It's like branded in my brain. He only performs on Halloween. He's only good on Halloween because he's Scary Terry. Other than that, he's not scary. And
you have to be worried. You have to be worried about Terry McLaurin. It was Tampa and New York in these two games, and I mean, not getting any depth of target, not getting any long receptions. Jaden Daniels taken off. Obviously, they ran the ball very effective, but I mean, it's like, where do you see McLaurin ever being the value being where you took him at? I don't know. It's hard to see after 2 weeks. And again, it's 2 weeks.
It's only
Jaden
2
Daniels,
weeks.
2 NFL games. The offense will change. I mean, he's talented and he's involved. So I'm not going to give up, but I would start to put the worry meter up on McLaurin being someone you can trust.
Yeah. I am gonna concur. I'm not a McLaurin fantasy manager. I can't remember if I've ever been a McLaurin manager. I don't know what it is about it. But yeah, if you did draft him, you were drafting him on the premise that, okay, look at all the quarterbacks that he's played with in the past, or at least the last few seasons, and it's been terrible. And yet he's gotten at least 1,000 yards. Okay, fine. Now he's got this, this 5-star rookie draft pick, number 2 overall pick. And it's so far a couple of duds. More will be revealed. We're going to have to let this tape play out. It's only week 2. Again, let's take this at the 4-week quarter pole. That's the way I want to look at all of it.
Well, yeah, now he's got a quarterback. Now he's got a quarterback that's going to take off 10 plus times a game. So, 14 attempts in week 1, 10 in week 2. So he's got a guy with a cannon and the most athletic ability I've ever had.
Right.
But he's young and he's got legs. And this kid, man, I don't know if you got Jaden Daniels, man, when he takes off, this guy made some amazing plays today with his feet. But that doesn't help a Terry McLaurin.
No.
But you just said it, though, right? You just said it. He's got a cannon. Where was that ball being thrown to? Or we all thought that if he was going to air it out, unleash that cannon, Terry was going to be the recipient of that. Well, I don't know. Not yet. But again,
Austin Eckler, half the amount of catches, turned it into 47 yards.
Yeah.
Again, he's the number one. He's the number one. They don't really have a real number 2. Zach Ertz was around a little bit today. So, again, the worry's there, but you hope as the season unfolds that Daniels becomes a better thrower and they find a way to get him some numbers. But it's just, we'll see how long that takes,
Yeah. Well, again, I hope the McLaurin fantasy managers just hang tight. Don't get all upset. Don't get nervous. We'll have to see this play out. It's only the second week. We've seen 2 weeks now of your LA Chargers. They went into Carolina, and they was like, hell no. Hell no, this Carolina Panthers team, we're going to get a road win here. And that's exactly what they did. Herbert did throw 2 touchdowns. Quentin Johnston did not drop 2 touchdowns.
No, he didn't.
How about that?
5 for 51 and 2 touchdowns, baby.
Yeah. How about them apples? And J.K. Dobbins, man. I mean, look, Wolfie, I gotta take the L here so far. In 2 weeks, still granted, it's 2 weeks. Let's pray to the fantasy gods that this continues for him. But you know as well as anybody, I was completely out on J.K. Dobbins all the way until September 3rd in the 11th round of my main home league on Yahoo, where I drafted J.K. Nevertheless, you had this. You had J.K. probably back in March, April, something along those lines. You knew it. You knew it, or you were confident in it, I should say. And you got to be pleased as hell. I couldn't see how you couldn't be pleased based on the numbers that he's putting up.
I think he might be leading NFL in rushing yards right now.
Back-to-back games. Back-to-back games of well over 100 yards.
And 130, whatever. The Chargers hadn't had a 100-yard rusher in back-to-back games in 8 years.
Wow.
And Dobbins did it. And all he's doing is adding to his yards per carry when he's on the field. I mean, he's, 6 yards a carry or something like that, even more probably. He's got 27 carries for 236 yards, I think. And it's crazy because Gus Edwards, he gets the ball and he just falls forward. He had 18 carries for 56 yards. And then when JK's in the game, it's like the Red Sea has been parted. And then he makes a move and he makes that move down the sideline. He looks good. Carolina's run defense isn't any good. Las Vegas looks to be pretty good, maybe above average, if you will, it seems like. Like I said, Henry got it going again. But if he's healthy, and the reason I liked him is Kamani Vidal, I get it. We all get excited. Dude was a 6th-round pick. There aren't a lot of 6th-round draft picks that pan out in fantasy football. We all hope for it, but this was a Ravens offense that came over. It was going to be they want to use J.K. Dobbins. That. I don't know. It was just never not going to be that unless he couldn't be healthy. But obviously this is still even more than you could have hoped for or really thought. I thought he could fill that role, but did I expect 27 carries for 230 yards? No.
The reason why that dude got smoked is twofold. A, we didn't know that JK was going to return like this, return to form to the 11th power. B, it was because of Harbaugh as well. So the Kamini spiller effect is now taking shape only for the fact of because of the JK condition, where he's now the main running back. Even with Gus the Bus still getting action today, still got one more carry than JK. So he actually has he had 18 to JK 17, but we all know that JK's yardage doubled his.
Yeah, and it doesn't really matter, but because of what JK's doing. But it doesn't even look like Vidal would be active right now.
He's not active.
If JK was hurt, so it's just wishful thinking of a guy that looks exciting. 6th-round draft capital. Just go look over the years. There aren't many guys that get drafted that late that come on and make an impact. I know it the running back room looked weak. The JK injury, it seems exciting, but he's still a rookie drafted in the 6th round. The odds of him even getting on the field very early and often, isn't realistic.
It was looking shaky for him even into late August, whether he was going to make the team or not. But he did eventually wind up obviously making the team. He hasn't dressed yet, or he's not active yet. And there's really
Hassan Haskins is in the fold.
Oh boy.
But yeah, doesn't matter to anybody right now what Vidal's doing. You're a dynasty team owner. You hope he sometime gets a role at some point. Other than that,
there were there were, Rhino, a handful of start sits yesterday asking about Deontay Johnson.
Yes.
God.
There was a ton. At this point, if they come in again,
Don't play him.
it's
Dude.
you cannot start a Carolina Panther. Period.
No.
Period at this point.
Let me take an L real quick. I'll take an L too, right? We talk about our good calls, right? So far, I am completely wrong about Deontay Johnson. I took him in so many places.
Yeah.
And on multiple teams, it's funny, right? We talk about having so many teams. Like, I played Calvin Ridley on like half my teams, and in other leagues, like I had better options, so I sat him on the bench, which is weird, right? Because you're like hoping he does good, but then like not as good as the guy you played over him in the other league. But anyway, like I played Deontay Johnson over Calvin Ridley in a couple leagues partially because Ridley was playing the Jets. The Jets pass defense is really good, right?
Yeah.
And I just figured like Adam Thielen balled out last year. At some point, you would think Bryce Young could get the ball to Deontay Johnson. But this man, Bryce Young, is awful. There's
something off about him. There's something. And do you think, okay, so Dave Canales is it Dave Canales, the head coach?
Yeah.
Do you think he's going to fall in the same category as OC or DC that took over his head coaching job, but just can't call plays and coach at the same time?
He had 18 completions for 84 yards.
In other words,
how do you complete 18 passes for 84 yards? And then some of his throws, not just to Deontay, I mean, the interception he threw. And so I just don't know yet. Like I said, Deontay is a complete L for all of us Deontay Johnson truthers right now. And I don't see how it gets any better. And I'm also wondering, how did Adam Thielen have so many catches last year with this dude at quarterback who, I mean,
I'm actually thinking about Deontay Johnson, like as a person, like how shitty has it been for him? Like he can't catch a break. Now, should we be feeling sorry for Deontay Johnson? No, and I'm not going to lose a damn minute of sleep based on the amount of money that he's making and doing exactly what he loves to do, and so on and so forth. So I'm kind of joshing the situation. However, yes, Deontay Johnson. Well, it's AB, right? Like Deontay Johnson was brought in to support the young quarterback and his development and give this young dude, the quarterback, a good, capable target to get the ball to. Now it's not the same as Justin Jefferson at all, but he was brought in and considered to be a weapon for the team. It doesn't matter if the quarterback cannot deliver the ball anywhere right now, which is what it seems to be based on the fact of the two scores.
It seems that a lot of his passes are in the pocket. I think he needs to be outside the pocket. To throw the ball because he is short. And a couple of times when he threw, I was like, did he just kind of jump up to look?
So glad you said that, because the little bit that I did watch, I was saying to myself, he looks tiny there.
Mm-hmm.
Tiny. Okay, he wouldn't be the first dude under center coming in and around his height. He wouldn't have gotten drafted if that was the case. So obviously there have been quarterbacks that came before him that fit his profile. So that can't be it. However, he looks small. Yeah, kind of looks like diminutive there. Yeah, look.
You can't start anybody in Carolina right now. I mean, Chuba did look pretty good in the run game. For as bad as they played and how bad they got their butts kicked, Chuba actually had a decent day on the ground. But this team can't find their way into the end zone. So, I mean, even there, it's like, but he looked okay. But Bryce Young's got numbers through, his first, whatever it's been, 16, 17 games that are worse than Zach Wilson and Jamarcus Russell. That's
yeah, it's
you got to start wondering. This is, he's going on almost 20 games played and the numbers are not good. Bad team or not, I mean, this Carolina Panthers team isn't going to just change into an all-star team overnight. So he's got to be, as a number one pick, you have got to be able to elevate a team like that to at least produce. And he can't. I don't know, man. I don't. You can't start a Carolina Panther right now. That's really all there is to it. No. Where you thought Bryce Young might be a quarterback 2 in 2 QB leagues at least some of the season, maybe at least half the games, probably more really. And you thought Deontay was a startable guy every week, and you thought Chuba or leading into Jonathan Brooks, and now you can't have them anywhere near your lineup.
No, absolutely not. I'm not. I don't know how comfortable I would be starting Jonathan Brooks when he gets off of IR, and I do have a little bit of Brooks here and there. So, yeah, something drastic is going to have to change for this team. I'm not sure what that is at this point. To Rhino's point regarding Dave Canales, we won't have that answer until he has success with the Panthers, a measure of success or a measure of failure, and the record's going to tell us that.
Yeah,
and he won't. It won't be Frank Reich again. That dude didn't make it a whole season. He got canned. He got canned halfway through. But they'll let Dave Canales play this out for a little while. Yeah. How about them Jets? That was a game that they're supposed to win. Tennessee made it a little bit more interesting than it should have been. However, Will Levis, again, yeah. I mean, Will Levis played better, and that's against the Jets. There might be some problems or issues with this vaunted Jets defense. So I don't want to sound like a complete homer, but I think there might be. Calvin Ridley had his way today, as we were just speaking about. Wolfie, Calvin Ridley scored twice today, for Christ. He had 2 touchdowns against the Jets. Whether Sauce was guarding him, it didn't matter who was guarding him. How did Tony do? I saw Taji. I saw Taji on the field a little bit.
I did good. Probably had a decent game. I think 74 yards or 84 yards.
Here's my big takeaway from this game, other than the fact that the offense, before this season, I said the offense goes through Breece Hall. Now the offense goes through their running backs. It just goes through their running backs. Because look at Braylon Allen today.
Nothing like being a Breece Hall or Garrett Wilson owner and watching, Braylon Allen. Good old, that's fantasy. Watching Braylon Allen get 2 touchdowns. Nowhere near anybody's starting lineup where Breece and Garrett Wilson are, first round.
Breece scored though.
Yeah. No, Breece ended up having a good day, right?
But so did Braylon Allen. So did the handcuff. The handcuff scored as well. Garrett.
And what about Garrett Wilson?
Yeah, 5 catches, 51 yards.
All right, so
57 yards.
Yeah, on 5. Yeah,
against a Tennessee secondary, and this is a guy in Aaron Rodgers that. Older or not, he's still out there. This guy fed Davante Adams. Why are we not feeding Garrett Wilson the football? Is it the offensive line not giving him the time to get it to Wilson? Is it you can create plays? I'm just not sure why we're not seeing 12+ targets for Garrett Wilson every game.
They're actually chalking this one up to L'Jarius Sneed. I mean, all right, I'm not that high on that dude either, right? I mean, I'm really not. There's a reason why Kansas City let him walk. I think he's overrated. I really do. But for some reason, they were chalking this game up to L'Jarius Sneed and him just shadowing Garrett the entire game. Call it what it is. That's what I heard. That's what I read. So, again, look, Garrett Wilson is their number one option on the team. It's not.
I'm still getting him more than 6 targets. I don't care who's guarding him. He's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I get it.
He's supposed to be that guy. Is he not, Rhino? Is he not supposed to be that guy? You can't just say, okay, cool. You're going to take him away, so we're just not going to try to use him. That they never did that with Davante Adams.
Yeah, and he's getting more targets last year with the shit quarterback playing that was going on last year.
Exactly. And it's not like they have a number 2. It's not like it's Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, where you're like, fine, we'll go to T. Higgins 12 times. Of course, T. Higgins not in the field, but you get what I mean. Like
It's
you're talking
close.
Alan Lazard, we're talking Tyler Conklin, like serviceable players, but it's not like you're just, okay, cool, take away Nico, we're gonna go to Stephon or Tank. Like, no,
Right.
I'm going to give Garrett Wilson 10 targets. If you want to give him 10 to 12 targets and he has 5 catches, and then you want to say L'Jarius Sneed, I'm okay with that. I'm just not okay with 6 targets for an alpha.
I get it. I don't want to make light of it. I don't want to make excuses for it. That's what I heard or read. I'm not sure I'm not even sure if that's really the case or not. Whether he completely blanketed him, shadowed him the entire game, every snap, every route. I'm not sure about that part yet. It could also be a situation where, like, they want to be able to establish this type of balance. Like, they don't want it to come across as being one-dimensional with the running backs, or like this game we're really gonna utilize the running backs, and we'll only pass the ball in sparingly situations. I don't know. But yeah, again, I back to the Devontae Adams point. I mean, like, Devontae Adams could have gotten uber targeted 10, 12 times a game either. Couldn't have. Not every game, right? I mean, like, believe me, I know exactly how you're feeling. We want this. We want Garrett to be the focal point of the offense. I think those days are coming. Those days are coming. He had a better game last week, didn't he?
Last week, he was there on the one drive where they moved the ball, where he had like 4 for 46, and then that's all he did. They didn't even really go back to him at all. So
it could have been. Yeah, it could have been one of those games. It could have been one of those games.
Yeah, I hear you though. You're right. There were games for Devontae, and obviously over the years, Devontae made us forget about those games. So maybe that'll be the same for Garrett Wilson. But again, last week was 4 for 46, and then he just disappeared. And then this week, he just wasn't really involved that much. It's not like they were dominating the game. I mean, they almost lost the game. So
the people's panic meter last week for Junior was damn near 6, 7, 8 on a panic meter. Oh, he didn't look good. He looked slow. I got news for you people. He's not Tyreek Hill fast either.
Right.
Marvin Harrison Jr. arrived today. Then all the nonsense that took place, last Tuesday or maybe it was Wednesday. Kyler, my job ain't to force feed him. No, I was able to read through those lines, right? Like, yes, he's getting the plays called down to him, and if he's not throwing to Marvin Harrison and he's targeting Trey McBride, it's for a reason. Marvin Harrison may not necessarily be open. Today it was a completely different ball game. Now, were they able to? Did they perhaps take advantage of a defense that wasn't as strong as who did Arizona play last week? Oh, the Bills. The Bills. Yeah, the Bills secondary played out of their minds. The Rams got scorched today. Quick.
Let's put something in perspective right here. I'm not saying anything downplaying the play of it, but when you have
that's the line.
When you have 5 defensive backs, 3 are UDFAs playing, and the only serviceable one is Tre'Davious White, who just hasn't looked good. It's going to happen. You're going to have a game like that. And even if the Rams had a shutdown corner, you probably had a game like that, because Rams, they just shit the bed today.
Yep.
Rams shit the bed.
Well, you saw what Jameson Williams did against them last week, too. I mean, this is the match. That's the thing. Like you said, Rhino, the players aren't really there, and the 2 matchups are so different. Buffalo is going to give you more of that underneath. Like, Tyreek Hill has not had a 100-yard game against the Buffalo Bills, right? So they don't really like to or try to get beat over the top in those long balls. That really is Marvin's more so his game on the outside. Now, he was wide open last week where Kyler missed him. That would have changed the narrative had he caught a 50-yard touchdown, right? Yeah. But in this game, you knew that those opportunities were going to be there. And that first one, Kyler just put in a beauty. And then the second one, you saw his athleticism take over where he propelled himself off the ground with the left hand to show that he can be that guy. But it really was the matchup, right? They took what the Bills gave him last week and missed him on a play. And this matchup was one for him to have those opportunities, and he got them, and he capitalized on them.
Oh, yeah. And why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you do that? That's just smart. And the Rams have beat them the last 10 times in Arizona, so it was going to happen. It's just Rams are just.
That's what Kyler meant. That's what Kyler meant about the defense, like you said, Rhino. And you guys are saying, like, what you're going to take what the NFL world is going to take what the defense gives you and throw it to whoever that is, right? If that's like the Bengals, right? If it's Yoshi or it's Trent Irwin or it's Drew Sample, like it's not. Joe Burrow does not care, and the good quarterbacks are going to get the ball to whoever's open. And so in Arizona, if that means that the slot is the best matchup, then you're going to see Dortchius get peppered with probably 7, 8, 9 targets. But in a game like this, where the outside is open, you don't really need that as much because you have Marvin Harrison, who's an alpha athlete who you can take advantage of. So it matters, right? The defense that teams play, how they play, who they have on those defenses, it really makes a big difference. Where a lot of times fantasy managers, we're just looking at the box score at the end of the day, and that's it.
The Dortchius only had 11 yards on 2 catches today. The Dortchius was a little tired.
Marvin Harrison show and McBride show, man.
There's no reason to use him in this matchup. No.
James Conner again. The ageless John James Conner,
the other dead zone stud.
Again, another dead zone. 122 for 1 touchdown. Kyler had 70 yards rushing. Oh boy.
We can move on now.
We can move on. Yeah. Let's cover one more game, the marquee game of the week. No, that game, I'm sorry, Don P, would not be the Steelers Broncos. Don P and DW. Yeah. Boy, would that be an interesting space right now.
Hey, 2-0 looks good though, real quick, no matter how you get it. So
this will be the last game that we covered, gentlemen. Then we'll enjoy the Texans Bears 3-3. Almost a whole entire first quarter went by. I apologize if you guys are still with us, with the 3 of us. We are over on time. We will do better the next time. The Bengals 25, Chiefs 26. Is that correct? 25? I may have just hit the wrong number. Might be correct. Nevertheless, though, Bengals played well. The Bengals played well in Kansas City. We know that we want Jamar to score. Again, much like Garrett Wilson, we have this elite talent on the field, and if he's double covered, double and triple teamed, Joe Burrow's smart enough to get it to Yoshi or Trent Irwin or Gesicki
today too.
Yeah, Burton had a big catch, and Gesicki was 7 for 91. I mean, you like what you saw from the receiving and from Burrow a little bit. And another tough matchup on the ground. I mean, 2 good run defenses for this team, but they
okay.
When do they start? Chase Brown averaged 6.1 yards per carry. Zach Moss averaged 3.1 yards per carry. When are they going to start? When are they going to start flipping it?
Again, though, and I'm going to defend this to the T. That's the way you're using Chase Brown. It's just the better. Okay. I don't think. Again, if you put Chase Brown in, and I don't want to say like Jaylen Warren because I think Jaylen Warren's much better and he's proven he can do it. But it's the same kind of thing. If you put Chase Brown in on 1st and 2nd down, and you're trying to get him to be that main back, like that's not. He just hasn't shown that he can do that. He doesn't really have the ability. He seems to be the guy that comes in to spell the starting running back. And sometimes there's just a little bit more holes with the way the defense is playing. And if you can't, again, pass block, or get those tough yards at the goal line when they know you're going to run. I think you need to see that from Chase Brown first, and I don't think we've seen that yet.
Yeah.
But they've also played 2 really good run defenses, so maybe when that doesn't happen, maybe you see Chase Brown do a little bit more of that. So I don't want to say that won't happen, but they haven't ran the ball well at all the first 2 weeks as a team.
Let me ask you guys one more question too. Do you think Jamar Chase is T. Higgins dependent for him having good games? Meaning, without T. Higgins, he's gonna be getting double covered more and triple team more. He seems to doesn't have very good games without T. Higgins, because T. Higgins takes some of the pressure off of him.
He takes pressure off of him just by default of him being on the field, but we've all seen Jamar Chase absolutely ball out and light it up without Higgins.
He hasn't done the first 2 games, though.
Doesn't seem like. So not these first 2 again. I mean,
I want to say a little bit of the defense that they played, but then I see Metcalf and JSN go off against New England today, so that kind of counterproductive to that answer. But overall, how many defenses can attack Chase like that and afford to kind of give up all these other yards to Yoshi, to Gesicki, to Burton? Like, I just don't know if every team can do that, right? New England kind of was able to do it. I mean, Cincinnati was just out of whack last week. I think they just overlooked that game. That's more of what it was, and looked ahead to Kansas City. But I think he's just so good, and other teams won't be able to do what the Chiefs were able to do. Like, they could kind of double chase and let other guys catch the ball. So maybe in some of the tougher matchups, yes, but I still think he just – I don't know, man. We've seen him be so good that
we've seen. We've seen it both ways. That's why. I mean, like I've seen them both on the field, obviously.
But it certainly helps, Rhino. I mean, having T. Higgins, I mean, on the other side is much better than having Trent Irwin and Mike Gesicki as your, producing options. I mean, that's. I think that's an automatic yes to an extent. But I think there's going to be so many games where you don't have a defense like the Patriots or the Chiefs that he's gonna ball out.
And look, maybe there's something to it where, like, okay, fine, you're double teaming Jamar Chase, and now Joe Burrow and the offensive coordinator, they're not trying to force feed it to him, rather distribute the ball to all these other guys, make them respect the other wide receivers. Now, once T. Higgins is back on the field, it's going to complicate things even worse for opposing defenses. So I think they're going to be fine. I know Odysseus says they played like shit, or the Chiefs played like shit. They did. I mean, the Chiefs played. I didn't think they played like shit. I mean, maybe there were some penalties, but I think the Bengals played well. What about that?
Yes.
I think the Bengals played. They went toe to toe with the Chiefs like they normally do. I mean, Mahomes is Mahomes. I want to talk about somebody slow, right? Well, like Elliott looks slow. How about that Travis Kelce like open field run that got called back? He looked slower than slow. I'm sorry. Not the same Travis Kelce. Didn't look like the same Travis Kelce last year. Now he even looks worse. I'm sorry.
He's what, 36, right? 36 years old?
He looked a little slower for sure.
Yeah. Looked slow. He's in an open field. Maybe he knew he was coming back, but it's like, my God, he does not look the same. I'm sorry. All right, gentlemen. Odysseus, you should hang your head high. It was a good Bengals win. They're 0-2. It's a long season. I want to. Rhino, we want to see Chase Brown. Of course we want to see Chase Brown. We don't want to see Zach Moss here. There's no Zach Moss here. Well, there won't be for long. Wolfie, I want you to enjoy this game. I want you to enjoy the time that you have with your family, your sons. Tell them not to get so crazy over fantasy. We're heading into week 3. Enjoy the game tonight. We will be back this upcoming Tuesday. We got Stefania Bell, so talk about injuries. Stefania Bell from ESPN will be on Twitter, X Spaces, 8 p.m. going over all the injuries. There were a ton that took place today, so the timing is perfect. Maybe we'll run another giveaway. Maybe. What else? Friday, hopefully there'll be another show on Spaces with NFL rumors. Maybe, maybe not. We'll keep everybody posted. Nevertheless, that same Friday, whether we're on both Spaces, we'll be back here on YouTube. DFS, maybe some props. Saturday, we'll preview freaking everything. And next week, we'll be right back here. We're only getting bigger. We're only getting better. You guys want to leave us with anything? No? Rhino? Wolfie?
Can the Bears win this game? I mean, we've seen enough going on today. Can they, I mean, it's a week-to-week league, right? So it's easy for us to say no chance. But, I mean, can the Bears win?
How about some tank? Let's get a little tank going. I'm a tank guy. I'm not a Nico.
Need the Texans to win this. I need the Texans to win this game to finish off a nice little parlay.
Nice.
When things get a little bit more concrete for you, Wolfie, of course you're more than welcome on the Friday show to do that. That betting DFS sort of angle that we are putting together. It was a great show last week, I thought. Great show putting that DFS lineup together. I ought to go check that, see how we did. But nevertheless, we're a growing channel. This is we're 13 months old. Technically, 13 months. Think about that for a second.
Baby show.
No, well, 13 months from last August.
Oh yeah.
Carrying over to now, 13 months of doing the Patrick Pucci Fantasy Show with Don P, myself, and the wonderful, spectacular team and community of goats that we've created so far, and we're only taking off. We're only taking off.
Yep.
And I got, again, thank you very much.
Thank you too. Always a pleasure.
All right, man. You have a nice evening. Everybody, do your best. Be good humans. You guys have a blessed week.
Be good humans.
And
I try to be a good human every day. I know. Then I see some shit on X, or I see some shit on CNN, and it's like
don't watch that stuff.
There is or read it, and there's just so much there's so much crap that goes on.
Eliminate some of those outlets that you let feed you, bro.
It's amazing. No, it's amazing. Here I am trying to get a little Schefter info, maybe a little Fantasy Pros guys info, some of my other favorite content people's info, and I see shitheads, absolute shitheads that almost make me want to be a shithead. But I bite my tongue. I'm disciplined like that. I bite my tongue. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
All right, man.
Everybody, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a wonderful game.
Night.